Hello guys, how you all doing today? Today I'll be taking you through understanding developer experience on the IC, that is internet computer. So let's get started. Yeah, so what is ICP? That's the first thing that will come to your mind, right? What is ICP? Everybody wants to understand what ICP is. And if you're a Web3 developer out there and you don't know what IC is yet, is either you don't like to explore different blockchains or you just don't want to dive into it, right? So, well, IC is not like every other blockchains out there. It's different. Why is it different? It's not built on the EVM, right? So it's not built to resemble the EVM. It's not built to solve any like it's not built because of EVM, right? It started a long time ago. So IC means internet computer, right? And it comes to solve a particular issue in the Web3 ecosystem, which is that it is not scalable. Anytime you want to scale Web3 solutions, issue regarding costs usually skyrockets. It happened with Ethereum. When you went try to scale Ethereum, then you see that as more volume of transactions come into the blockchain, prices, fees increases, right? And that spoils user experience. Most users that are using solutions built on the IC on the Web3 systems don't need to understand what fees are. They just want to use it. But these underlying fees, this underlying costs on bottleneck on the necks of those that are building Web3 solutions, they can't just sit on it alone, right? They can't just ignore that cost, right? It's too much, right? So IC came to solve that with many other solutions, right? Because there's not just one problem in Web3 ecosystem, right? So that's what IC is in a nutshell. You can dive more into their website and discover more things about IC, right? There's no issue about that. So now developing in Web3 usually comes with two main things. It's just like developing in Web2. Yeah, Web2 developer, developing Web3 is not that different. You have an idea of a backend, and then you have the front end, right? The front end is the user point of view. The back end is where most of the logic or business logic resides, right? So Web3 is not that different, right? There's also a back end, there's a front end. But in this case, the back end is usually the smart contracts developed running on the back end or the interface between another built contract and your own smart contract. Your backend can be composed of your native contract and also other contracts, for example, Uniswap and so on and so forth, right? So that's it. So in essence, the front end connects to the back end for data, and the front end displays information, data to the users, right? So that's essentially what developing Web3 is. And there's been a lot of issues regarding this, right? So the first thing I had when I was learning Solidity was that it was not straightforward. This is what I'll try to say about that, right? I don't know exactly what to do with it. I know there's a smart contract, but how would I connect it to the front end? Now, when you now get to that point, you end up seeing that there's like gazillion amount of libraries out there. One of the issues of JS ecosystem, there's this for that, use Web3 JS, use it out. What would I use for what? Right? I later got the hang of it and understood how to connect everything together. Then you enter the issue of wallets again, enter the issue of connecting wallets, creating user accounts, and so on and so forth. Right? It's not easy to learn how to develop on Web3, right? This is the difference. This is one of the major difference I found out when I learned Motoko and tried to build a solution on the IC. Good. So after that, what other things again? For example, you want to come into Web3 now from a Web2 point of Web2, you don't need to understand things like what do they call it? Things like test nets. You want to deploy on the test net. How do you deploy? How do you do that? You just understand your cloud system like AWS and so on and so forth, and you are good to go. But in Web3, it is different. You need to understand what test nets are. You need to know tokens that I used to deploy on testnet. If you don't have tokens, one other issue I figured I made when I was trying to learn how to deploy on Web3 was getting testnet tokens, right? You have to have a certain amount of ETH in your wallet before you can get testnet tokens. That was a big down on my side, as someone that is trying to learn and understand what Web3 is from scratch. I don't have any kind of funding then, so I can't get that. That was a kind of bottleneck for me. So I have to like wait, try to look for means and how I can get this token right. So that's also one of the issues when you're trying to build solutions in Web3. There's a lot of more other issues out there that I'm not touching, right? But you get the hang of it, right? So I just mentioned some of the issues, right? Most of the issues I mentioned was focused on developer experience, right? So the other things like interoperability. So ETH especially was not built with interoperability in mind, right? Interoperability not just interoperating with other blockchain, right? But interoperating with Web2 solutions. That's also one thing again. It is not capable of of getting information, data from a two ecosystem. Say for example, you want to build a smart contract where your user can like sign up with GitHub, and after they sign up with GitHub, they would you would call their GitHub API to try to extract information about their repositories they have built. You can't do that natively with you have to look for another solution again. Now you are seeing this issue of you are looking for like you want to learn about Web3, you are learning about ETH, Chainlink, this one for this one for randomness. This all of these things are not built into it. It's not interoperable, right? That's also one of the issues with Web3. When it comes to interacting with other kind of interfacing with other kind of solutions, things you start encountering some challenges, right? And then scaling issues, as I mentioned earlier, also when you want to scale to thousands, millions, billions of users, on ETH it's going to freak out, right? This was why they created ZK, optimistic proofs and so on and so forth, so that you can place all of these scalability issues onto layer two solutions, and then they do some kind of things for the layer one solution, which is ETH. So um right. So yeah, that's that. Right. That's that. So that's the scaling issue. And also the storage. You can store things. You can store things on ETH blockchain. You can store things on native blockchain, like regular blockchain systems. It's just that there's a limit to the kind of data you can store. That's why it is mostly beneficial for things like finance, because you need to store numbers, you need to store JSON, you need to store image, you need to store binary files, right? It's good for those things. But when you start seeing that, when we start evolving, the world is not like out as it was 10, 20 years ago, right? Where information is not that much. Even the amount of data being sent on websites nowadays, when you just visit a particular website, is already enormous. You can see a website, you visit a website, you see downloaded data up to like 50 MB, right? It's a lot of data, right? So ETH was not built with this in mind. It was not built to store this kind of data. When you store this kind of data on ETH, you would spend a lot of money. I mean a lot. I'm talking in the thousands of dollars just to store information like about 5 gigabytes of data. You would spend trillions, billions of dollars, right? But on IC, it's different. We'll get there in a bit. So now, let's talk about developer experience on IC. I'm thinking if you're watching this video, it's either you want to learn about IC or you are already into IC, you're not clear on what you will do next, where you get help from, or you're just a curious Web3 enthusiast and you want to understand what exactly IC is. And that's what I'm going to show you today. And also Web2 builders. It's not limited to just Web3 builders. Okay, so let's dive into that, right? Let's dive into that. So language support. First thing first, right? When EVM was, I don't want to be comparing it to EVM again, in fact. So language support, you can build on IC with Python, Rust, CS, JS, Motoko, and every other language that has a CDK built for it, right? So meaning there's no limitation to it because it compiles down to WASM, right? So because it compiles down to WASM, any language that can compile down to WASM can also be used to write on the IC. So that's the one of the first thing. So first of all, remove the part of whereby you have to learn a new language. You don't need to learn a new language anymore. With your current development language, right? Either you write Python or TypeScript or JavaScript, you're ready to go. Now the second thing is development support. Now normally on EVM, you start to know that you need to learn things like ADAT. When I was working with EVM, other issue, I was like, okay, there's Foundry, there's ADAT. What's ADAT used for? What's this Foundry used for? Is it used for everything? Is it like I need to learn both of them separately? Are they used for different things, right? After going down and try to understand, okay, this one is for this. Oh, okay, this one is get. It's for this. Okay, this one is. Why is all of these things just more? Why is there not a standard, right? Why is there just a lot of things? You want to work on a new project. This one is using adults. You're using Foundry. You have to learn about what this one does, and then you have to learn about the intricacies of it. When it comes to Web3, you just can't write code. You have to be sure of security issues, security considerations, optimizations, and so on and so forth. So you need to understand what you're doing, right? So that's that part. But when it comes to IC, it's different. All you need is DFX. That's all. All you need is DFX. With DFX, you can do everything. You can test, you can deploy locally, you can push your code to mainnet. You can do anything you want to do, right? So that's one major aspect of that. And then we have the idea of cycles. There's a different token for deployment, and then there's a different token if you want to actually do spending on the IC, right? And you are not forced to use that token, which is ICP, right? Cycles is used for deployment. So this actually creates a kind of separate ish. It creates a kind of separate solution. I don't need ETH to deploy, right? I don't need to have ETH to deploy. And again, this also solves a problem whereby instead of the users connecting to your system and let's say they want to do a kind of an API call, they are not paying for the API call, right? You're the one paying for it. It's a reverse gas model, right? So you are the one paying for it. It's your cycles instead of with your actual token like ICP or any other token out there. On VS Code, there's support for Motoko. You can build, you can deploy your smart contract, and then deploying again. You know how easy it is to deploy? Like when I was learning IC, I wasn't even writing code yet, and I already deployed my own program on chain. This was so easy. I just installed the DFX on my system. If you go to the documentation, you see how to install DFX. All you need to just do is like DFX deploy, and that's all. Like that's all. You don't need to learn 10 packages out there to know how to build on the IC, right? So that's that. And then there's also updating. You see, most of these things they won't tell you when you start building on EVM. It is complex to deploy. Like you have to ensure your system is perfect, right? But then later the way they start creating things like proxies where you can, deploy a kind of program that has the state, and then you deploy other proxies that modify the state on that particular program. You see what I'm talking about now? You see what I'm talking about? Like this is complex, right? It's easy when you start understanding it, it's easy, but then you also need to consider security issues again, and you can't add new states on that initial contract that you deployed, right? So there's limitations on upgrading. But on the IC, you can actually upgrade your contract directly. Even if you deploy on the mainnet, you can update that particular contract live and direct, right? When you're developing, developers know that you need to be able to update. There's bugs, right? There's bugs. There's no way you can be 100% perfect, only if you are very, 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 very good. Something might later come up, you need to upgrade something, you need to add a new, you don't need to destroy everything and start from scratch. You can just push new states and you can upgrade your your contract on the IC. It's actually called canisters, right? So it's not contract. It's a different terminology. So user experience again. When it comes to IC, you start to understand. So I say IC, developing in Web3, you need to understand wallets, right? What are wallets? What are EOAs? What are contract addresses? Oh, okay. You need a wallet to use a particular solution. If you don't have a wallet, when you're creating a wallet, you need to be secure. Now, the security issue again, you need to store your seed phrases securely, either in your vault, either with your mommy, with your daddy. You need to store it somewhere, right? If you don't store it somewhere, you would have another issue again. And then there's a whole lot of barrage of issues out there that it's too much, right? Why not choose internet identity? Why not forget about those issues? Why not release the user of a part of the memory of their mind? You don't need to think about that again. Just move out of your mind. Wallet, just remove it, dump it somewhere else. You don't need it again. Just dump it off. That's what internet identity does. It also creates user experience. It is so easy to use. Like how easy it is, how easy it is to use internet identity. Comparing it to use something like Phantom or Wallet out there, it's easy. I don't need to create an account. I don't need to understand it. I don't need to understand everything that comes with cryptography, right? All I need to just do is have a device. laptop, a phone, anything that can connect on internet and has an hardware, you are good to go. So that's internet identity for you. So that is one of the reasons why it is solutions built on the IC are very easy to use. Are very like you don't need to have a wallet. I can give you a solution right now that I built on the IC a couple of months ago that integrates AI, and then you don't have a wallet. You can just use it live and direct. You don't need to pay for gas. You don't need to pay for anything. You are using the solution right there because on the internet computer it is very scalable. It is easy to use. You have internet identity principles. You don't need those things. So deployment and development is much more easier. Now community support. Well, I actually can say that community on on Ethereum is quite larger than the one on IC. But the one I else internet computer did different is that what you'd like to think about of new blockchains out there is that when they start, they have this kind of low support. ICP invested a lot in getting, or definitely invested a lot in allowing developers to easily understand what their system does and how to build on it initially from scratch, right? It has not been alive for that long, right? So you can see we can argue about that, but then the support is enormous, right? It's enormous. I haven't used the forum before on ETH. I've used ICP Definitive Forum, and I can see the experience I get there. I can see the support that is there. They invested a lot into R&D. So this is one of the things I'm not seeing in most new blockchains, right? They just want to come and build a solution whereby people can come and deploy meme coins. I see is looking beyond that. He's looking into the future. He's looking into turning Web3 into a solution that can serve and replace, that can serve SaaS applications and can replace the cloud entirely, not tokens, not that, right? He's thinking 10 times forward. So the community support, they invested a lot into R&D, research and development. There's a lot of research into cryptography, into new breaking changes, like breaking things in cryptography, breaking new utilizing things like Schnorr, things like EDSCA or ECDSA, sorry, and then using a lot of complex things like that. They are trying to make a way to bridge the gap in interoperability, bridge the gap in scalability, bridge the gap in development experience, right? They're doing all of these things. And they've invested a lot into hackathons, bootcamps, and orbs. If you don't know right now, there's orbs in 34, I think they have 34 orbs currently in the world right now. There's one in there are lots in Africa, there's some in Brazil, there's some in Asia, and so on and so forth. Orbs that you can just join and then meet other people developing the IC, and then you get to understand and experience and learn together with each other. So we've talked a lot about a lot of things on the IC, right? A lot of things, right? So what should be your next thing to do now? I'll say next thing to do is actually go to their website. That's where I went. I did not go to any other place. I went straight to their website, and I got started. 3 months, I say 3 months, 6 months later, I've developed two working solutions on the IC, not projects, working solutions on the IC. And then here I am, right, explaining this also to you guys. And also look out for bootcamps. There's a particular bootcamp called Motocode Bootcamp. I also participated in that, right? I met said was a very, very nice guy. Explained a lot to me about IC. And then so that's that. And then hackathons also, check out Encode, check out their website also. Also grants. They also have grants for builders. If you have an idea, and you think this idea is going to scale, big idea, you can come on the IC, they will support you. Right? So that's it on the IC. Thank you so much for coming and listening to what I have to say. And if you can actually you can follow me. Yeah, follow me here for more content on GitHub, WhatsApp, Twitter, and everything. Thank you so much. It's been really nice talking to you all. Have a nice day. Please drop some comments, like, and maybe subscribe also. So if you want more content like this or you have a question, you can reach out to me by scanning this QR code on the screen. I'm going to respond to you anywhere, WhatsApp, Twitter, anywhere. I'll reply to you when they comment. Thanks so much. Have a nice day. Peace out.